So the fall has ended. A guy who I had as my running back number 1, in fact. I think he's a complete back who can do a lot, although don't get too excited, Texans fans, because I'm also a little bit lower on some of the other guys like Kenneth Walker and like Breece Hall, so that's part of why I have him number 1. This is right around when I felt like his value should be an early day 3 pick, which again, part of that is like, hey, I'm not a draft a running back guy. It still is kind of a weird team building strategy to draft a running back when you're bad. The Texans are bad. However, it's a little bit more okay here in day 3. You're talking outside of the top 100, whereas some of these guys were going, like 40th, there, which or even earlier. Breece Hall went earlier, and I think Dameon Pierce is a better player. He's at least in the same ballpark. He's very good. So that's why I'm a little bit more okay with this pick. And, even though it's drafting a running back, I'm not going to crush it too much because running backs still do help your football team. So it's not like they don't matter at all. They just don't matter as much as people think they do. But let's talk about Pierce and why I like him so much just as a player. So let's start off with a play like this. One of the things that you always look for in halfbacks is how well do you do the other stuff, right? Not just running, but I think that how well do you run receiving routes and also how well do you block is very important at the NFL level. And those are things that are constantly slept on, I think. I haven't done a study on it, but it certainly to me feels like the guys who typically end up being bust tend to be the guys who don't block very well or don't do the other stuff very well. It's less about their actual running ability. So first, let's talk about the other stuff. And first, we'll start off with the receiving, where this is a simple play, right? You're not expecting him to go out there and just be a monster. He isn't Christian McCaffrey. He doesn't have to be, but this is just, it's a simple play. Watch what happens. Look, he's just going to run his route well. He gets to his spot where he needs to be and helps, set up the entire play. That's all you want him to do. Get to your spot well. The ball didn't even come his way. I don't care about that. All I care about is the routes, and the routes are solid. So, for Dameon Pierce, there's a lot to like about him, and he can certainly block as well. In fact, he would even be used as a fullback at times, so that was kind of fun as well. But anyways, let's talk about the running ability, what we're really here for. So something like this, what you're going to see is that you definitely see, how everyone's supposed to get blocked. Both guys at the second level should be blocked, so this is potential for a good play for Dameon Pierce. Watch how right when this play begins, what you're going to notice is that Pierce takes the snap. You do see the hole, and it looks like he's trying to actually at first get to kind of his left, so a little bit closer towards the bottom of the screen, but reads at this point that there's actually a bit of a bigger window further up, and especially with a safety crashing down further towards the, his left, which is towards the bottom of the screen. This now means that if he goes towards the top of the screen a little bit, he could pick up more yards. So vision, very important with running backs as well. And as you see, he's explosive enough to still get through that gap and pick up a first down and then some. So really good stuff from Dameon Pierce. There's a lot to like about his game, and he definitely is an effective runner of the football, and really kind of he checks all the boxes. He's shifty, he's explosive, he has good vision, all of that good stuff. Now let's go over to something like this. So what we're going to see is that pay attention to the edge rusher. He's going to be unblocked on this play, which is what you will constantly do. You leave an edge rusher unblocked, and then you run to the other side of the field, just so that way it gives you an extra blocker. You can't block everybody, so you have that guy be the unblocked guy. However, right when this play begins, it's a little bit slow in developing, and the edge rusher could potentially come over and make a play, so Pierce is going to have to run quickly. The issue is there isn't like a clear and obvious hole as of right now, a clear gap that he should get through, but he still is explosive enough and shifty enough to pick up as many yards as available on that play. So that's, again, what I like about him. What I always say this of running backs, because it's important. With a running back, it's how many yards were potentially available on that play and how many yards did you pick up. And he picked up more yards than a replacement level player would have, and that's what you like, and that's the value in a Dameon Pierce. And then finally, let's talk about something like this. So I've just paused it right now. Let's talk about big play ability, because for one thing, I actually think a little bit gets too much made of big play ability. Like, obviously, if you can get a big run, that is cool, and that helps, and, a big play can really matter with a running back. In fact, that's a huge way that you can benefit your team in the NFL. Turning second and sevens into second and sixes is cool, but it's better to turn a 15-yard run into a 50-yard touchdown. That obviously helps you a lot more. But the other stuff really matters and is very much important, especially when you're a guy like Dameon Pierce who can still get those big plays, and this is an example of it, where you see, watch what happens right when this play begins. As you see, this play begins, Pierce has the ball. What do you do in this spot? You could just sort of run your head into a wall, but there is legitimately a wall right in front of him. He's not going to be able to pick up too many yards by just continuing to go forward. So instead, watch him bounce things to the outside, and he's going to pick up a good amount of yards right here. So this is a really good play from someone like Dameon Pierce, and that's, again, what I like about him, is there's no clear flaw in his game, in my opinion. He is someone who, he does check all of the boxes. Like, the only real flaw I have with him is that he didn't have a ton of playing time, but in some ways that might be a good thing because there's not a ton of wear and tear on his body. So that actually goes both ways, which is why I'm such a big fan of him. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's funny because, quite frankly, the Texans are doing more to help out Davis Mills than the Bears did to help out Justin Fields. So the Texans are doing what they can to just get some talent in that, on that offense, and Dameon Pierce could certainly help. The Texans seemingly had a strategy of signing just a bunch of veteran running backs, trying to collect all of the running backs who everyone knows the name of, but no one is super fan of any of those guys. No one has any of their jerseys. Now here's a guy who maybe you could get a jersey of, because he, I think, will be very good, and I could easily see him being a day one impact player, and you're getting that at round 4. So there's good value in something like that. I think it's fair to say. Again, these things all come down to where are you drafting? When are you getting these running backs? Getting a running back, pick 36, that's not great. Getting a running back, 108? That's a lot better. Still, there's maybe ways they could have gone about it, taken some swings on other guys, but for someone like Pierce, if they had as high of a grade on him as I did, which was, I thought he was running back 1, that now makes it a lot more achievable. I'm sure Pete Carroll is very disappointed he did not get to draft Dameon Pierce and draft another running back. But yeah, so that's kind of why even though I typically pound a table, you don't need running backs, especially if you're not a good football team. Well, the idea is hopefully, in the next 4 years, you will be a good football team, and Pierce can be a quality running back for you for those years. So if that happens, then, there you go. And again, Lovie Smith kind of has more of an old school mindset, right? So he probably values running backs more than maybe I do. So that's another interesting factor here. But yeah, that's kind of what I think about all of this interesting stuff. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Dameon Pierce going to the Houston Texans? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.